We will now move on to our last session. The fifth session is on scaling up cleaner production with sustainable textile solutions. As we have heard a lot of times today, sustainability has come up not just as a voluntary action, but maybe an important positioning and market access tool. So may I request Mr. Ajay Sardana, President and Head, Strategy and Business Development at Reliance Industries, who will be moderating the session. We are joined by Ms. Priyanka Khanna, who is the Head of Asian Expansion for Fashion for Good. She'll be joining us remotely. She leads the Fashion for Good's first regional innovation platform in South Asia, which was launched in January 2020. Through this South Asia program, they have been engaging the Asian textile ecosystem to drive the circular transition of the industry. May I call upon stage Ms. Mridula Ramesh, Executive Director, Sundaraman Climate Institute. Ms. Mridula Ramesh is the author of the critically well-regarded book, The Climate Solution, India's Climate Change Crisis and What We Can Do About It. She is founder of the Sundaraman Climate Institute, which focuses on waste and water solutions and education. She is an active angel investor in clean tech startups with a portfolio of over a dozen startups. Mr. Khalid Shuman, Executive Director, Cotton Egypt Association. We already had him in the last session and we have introduced him. So I'll move on to the next speaker, Mr. Prashant Deka, Head India Market and Product, BG, of Reader India Private Limited. Mr. Tathir Zaidi, the General Manager, Pollution Management in MSMEs, Solidaridad Network Asia. And Mr. Farhad Vania, Senior Portfolio Advisor, GIZ India. Mr. Zaidi is from Solidaridad, which is an international civil society organization with over 50 years of experience in developing solutions to make communications more resilient. They are working in Latin America and in 40 other countries, over 5 continents, through 8 independently supervised regional offices. Mr. Vania is serving as Senior Portfolio Advisor at GIZ India. His primary function is to provide advisory support to the country director and to act as an interface between the country office, the German embassy, and relevant stakeholders, such as the Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance, and Government of India, and other line ministries. Now over to Mr. Ajay Sardana. You have a tough task, it will be in the last session.
Thank you, City, for organizing this nice conference and keeping sustainability as one of its panel discussion topics. So I am very fortunate that we are covering from farm to fashion. Like we have cotton is there, which will be covering. Then we have fashion, Ms. Priyanka, who is head of Asia plans, and then fashion that cares. So I will try to cover all the aspects of sustainability because it's very close to my heart. I started my journey in sustainability in 2014 when hardly few companies in India were doing the sustainability theme and the projects were being done. So we can start from farm and cotton and then we can move up to the fashion in the manner we move. So my first question will be to Mr. Khalid. We have heard a lot about Egyptian cotton being a sustainable thing and they have a lot of traceability. So, and the brand value of the Egyptian cotton is very high. So what are the initiatives government support or what are the initiatives industry is taking to make the cotton sustainable, or whether the cotton is sustainable or not? There is a many, you can say, queries going on or many parallel discussion going on. So what's your take on that?
Thank you very much again. The majority of the fashion nowadays are using man-made fibers, which are fuel derived, like polyester. and this is not sustainable, and also it adds to the problem of the high wastage, high volume of industry waste. Contrary, there is the cotton. Generally, the cotton is sustainable and circular. The cotton in 4 years in the soil biodegrades by 90%, while the polyester needs 76 years to biodegrade by 5%. Besides, also the cotton, all the tree is used in the industry, so it is very clear that the cotton is sustainable and circular. It's very good for the brands to use the genuine fiber instead of the man-made fibers. And this allies with the new regulations of the EU. The direction will be towards this natural fibers. Regarding the effort done by the government, we are talking about some initiatives like Better Cotton initiatives and REAL, and I think I have explained them in the previous session, so I don't want to waste the time of the panel and our audience. If we talking about traceability, because I understood this was important. Traceability with Egyptian cotton, it's a long story. I will cut it very short. It started 7 years ago when we had really issues with traceability and authenticity verification. When we received a call from UK retailers that they will stop the Egyptian cotton because of the verification and authenticity problem. 2015, we found we have taken so much samples from the world, and we found that 90% of what was labeled Egyptian cotton was not Egyptian cotton. So we had a big homework to do. We started with partnering with Bureau Veritas as a certifying body. So and we established with this reputable auditing company verification system and traceability system that starts from the cat-go bill number till the final product. So there should be a coding system in the production process that enables us to trace the Egyptian cotton content throughout the supply chain. There is an audit, yearly audit, and there is also an advised audit. There is quarterly monitoring of the quantity purchased versus quantity bought. There was an investment in the DNA with the genomic fingerprint of the Egyptian cotton, which also enabled to verify the authenticity of the fiber or the yarn or the ready-made garment. So this was what was done briefly in the verification and authenticity. And the result, we are having very good result, while it is now endorsed by the retailers. Actually, they were partners when we were choosing the company of the auditing, and also while putting the whole system that was discussed together. And now we have the retailers in England and in the US. They insist that any supplier should be licensed with the Egyptian cotton logo.
Thank you, Mr. Khalid. Really, some good work has been done by Egyptian Cotton and your association government.
Thank
so
you so much.
we can be in touch offline and understand how can Indian cotton be taken to that league. So my next question will be to Ms. Mridula. I understand that you and your institute are doing a lot of work on water. So would you like to explain what type of processing technologies or some new technologies your institute has worked?
Actually, no, I'll stay to my day job, which is textiles, which I think is of more interest here.
Okay.
And the point I'll ask is this is called sustainability. But in my day job, I really find you can't, if you need it's a journey, right? And in a journey, you need to know where you're starting and where you're finishing. And I know with some of you, I've asked, what does sustainability mean? And McKinsey has asked that question. Many other organizations have asked that question globally. And I bet you will get a different answer. If you ask this group what sustainability means, some people say it's well-made clothing. Some people think it's expensive, durable clothing. Some people think it's going circular. Some people think it is net zero carbon. And many people don't have a clue as to what it means. Earth-friendly is what you get. So I think we need, as an industry, to spend some time getting on the same page. Because if we don't know what the destination is, I guarantee you we are not going to get there. Okay. Number 2, you asked me about water, and I'll talk about water. How many of you, I think everyone here is wearing something that's been dyed, bleached, or processed, right? How many of you are buyers here? Buyers of fabric, buyers of garments. The one thing I hear, and this was in the last sustainability panel I spoke of, I asked buyers, are you willing to pay for sustainability? Because when you process fabric or you process yarn, to make it sustainably, to get to net zero discharge, it costs money. It costs, I mean, if I'm just going to discharge it into the nearest river, it costs nothing. If I'm going to neutralize it, it costs maybe ₹1 per t-shirt. If I decide to do RO, it costs maybe 2 to 3 rupees a t-shirt. And if I want to evaporate it, and that's a steam guzzler, that adds 3 to 4 rupees a t-shirt, according to a very experienced source who told me that. And the profit margin on a t-shirt is 2 to 3 rupees. And if the buyer says, hey, I'm not going to pay you for it, I really want sustainability, but I'm not willing to pay you for it, I guarantee you that the Noyal, the Ganga, the Yamuna will all flow with the untreated dyes that flow into them, because people will find a way to cheat. So those are the 2 things I will leave you with. Let's all work towards a common definition of what sustainability is. I think it's gone into everybody's head that you need to go circular and you need to go net zero carbon, but there are other elements of sustainability, and let's all get on the same page as far as that is concerned. Secondly, let's understand that nothing valuable comes free of cost. And if you want innovation, which is a word I've heard again and again and again, the other thing that I do is invest in clean tech startups. I see a lot of waste startups because there is value in that. I see very few water startups because water is not seen as something valuable to innovate on. So let us agree that we need to pay for this. And that is to address to the buyers in the room. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My next question is to Mr. Prashant. As a key producer of the textile machinery RITER, what is the sustainability themes or the agenda you are working in your organization to give textile value chain a sustainable solution?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we are from spinning, so I can talk about sustainability to the extent of spinning fibers, whether it is cotton or man-made, because we supply machines for both these things. Sustainability, as ma'am said, we used to work on, less carbon footprint in terms of providing technology and machines to industry where carbon footprint can be reduced. So that was ongoing for a long time. But what has happened now new is the recycling, of course. How do we process this recycled fiber in spinning systems? But to tell you very frankly, when it comes to rotor spinning, it's very easy. I mean, our industry is doing it for a long time. But when it comes to ring spinning, spinning a yarn with recycled fiber becomes quite tough. It's not only because of cost alone, but also because what you get at the end of the production line, the yarn, are you getting the amount of recycled fiber that you should get in terms of requirement, at what cost? So what we found out that it's the entire spinning process where we need to do certain adaptation to process these recycled fibers, whether it is post-consumer or pre-consumer. So our team is working for last, I would say 2-3 years, working very heavily on developing this spinning process. And we are quite successful to the extent that we are able to process ring yarns with, conversion rate, which really gives you the cost tag that you are looking for. And we know that a time will come when the entire market will be flooded with recycled yarn, and you are not going to have the margins that you can enjoy, today. So we need a sustainable solution, a sustainable process where it can be, the fibers can be processed. So this is as far as the, mechanical type of recycle process is concerned. There is now one more technology where you use chemical processes, particularly for man-made fibers. Here we dissolve the man-made fibers or yarns or fabrics, and then separate it into individual fibers, and then we reproduce. So this is very good because you don't lose the fiber properties, unlike in cotton. But at the same time, this is very, very costly. But we have started working also in this direction.
Prashantji, I need to cut you because we have many panelists and time is cutting really short.
Yeah, so I am almost done.
Okay.
Yeah, I am almost done. So we have tied up with a company called Spinova, who is an expert on this, and we are working on this.
Okay. Thank you, Prashantji. So really sorry to the panelists, you need to be very, very brief because time is running out and I am getting repeating reminders. So my next question is to Ms. Priyanka, Fashion for Good. As we were hearing from Ms. Mridula that consumers are not ready to pay for the sustainability. So what is your experience in Fashion for Good? Whether you are seeing the trends that consumers are now ready to pay, or what is your observation on, because you deal with the brands and other things, so kindly share views.
Sure. I'll try to keep it brief. From Fashion for Good's point of view, we are an innovation platform that's looking to scale innovation in the textile industry to reach that net zero target or to decarbonize the industry. So our work is a lot more B2B than B2C. So probably not the right person to answer the consumer behavior change question. However, you're right, there is connection to brands who are constantly battling with this issue, whether consumers would finally be able to pay for this or not. And I think there are lots of things that have been touched upon, but on the consumer side, what I'd like to add in, our realization is working on various technology areas. Transparency in the industry is very important, and not just creating this traceability and transparency to understand the footprint of the industry and every initiative and every change in technology, what would change in the industry because of that, that comes from measuring the footprint. So knowing and understanding what's happening in the supply chain can help us understand the footprint, bring it down, but also educate the consumers on it. So the consumers can be aware that actually an early example that was given was on Egyptian cotton. Are they buying Egyptian cotton, or is it any other kind of cotton, organic or not? Is this recycled material? Is it 10% recycled material? Has there been any child labor? All of that needs to come through transparency. So I think from a consumer end, the transparency becomes a key area to work on. But I'd like to just pick up on the other side also. Since there was a lot of talk around mechanical and chemical recycling, a lot of our work, particularly in India, under the Asia region, has been focused on creating circularity that is addressing the textile-based challenges. And very recently, and I think that's something that I was also asked to speak about at this panel, was to say all of this textile waste that exists in India, at this point of time, there's no traceability or awareness of what's happening with this textile waste. So as part of a study, we managed to now assess where does this textile waste exist, what type of materials there are, how do the manufacturers potentially create traceability and use this as a resource for recycling. And on the other end, what we are trying to do is demo that various recycling technologies, if they enter into India, like chemical recycling in future, which is very rightly said at the point, is very nascent as well as very expensive. As it scales up, what the impact of the industry would be. and what are the enablers that are required. For example, current supply chain on the waste side is actually very informal in the country, but could we formalize it, bring in the technologies, and create the whole circularity? And finally, what would the real impact on emissions in that would be?
Thanks,
I'll pause here because I know we are short on time.
Yeah. So 1 minute each to Mr. Tahir and Mr. Farad to explain the concept of sustainability in your organizations. Because
Issues here.
So just be very, very brief.
So, Solidarity Dart, across the experience of our 45 years, we are working in, when we are talking about sustainability, so we are facilitating supply chain, starting from farmer to the businesses. For example, we are working at the farmer level, cotton farmer, and we are also working at different levels, like spinning, ginning mills, and also to the brand sitting in the Europe, like Levi's producing jeans. So we have recently completed a project in Bangladesh with 200 textile industries on sustainable production. Like Mrudula already indicated about the water. So we introduce the innovation. How can we reduce the water consumption by like even 50% in volume by only on an investment of 10,000 rupees, which is even viable for the small enterprises. And with reference to India, with the request of National Mission for Clean Ganga, in last 5 years, we did some tangible and proven scientific work. How can we significantly reduce water consumption, total dissolved solids, BOD, COD? How can we convert different kind of solid waste coming out from the industry into valuable products from the leather tanneries? Now, Central Pollution Control Board, Government of India, requested Solidarity Dart to work out a digital portal on the CPCB charter that we are going to launch in the next month, which will actually reflect all these sustainability aspects. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just take my 1 minute if you will allow it. I represent German technical cooperation in India. We have something like 40, 45 projects with about 15, 20 ministries. Needless to say, Ministry of Textiles happens to be one of them. Almost all these projects have some element of sustainability built into them because after all, that is what the governments of India and Germany want to cooperate on. Specifically in this sector, I'll just pick on what I heard Ms. Ramesh talk about. If you don't have ownership for sustainability, you can keep hammering away at it. Nobody's going to bother. They won't even pay for it. Or least of all, they will pay for it. The issue actually is how do you build ownership? If you don't have ownership of a process, you'll never have ownership of a product. And you know, if you say something, this is sustainable, and nobody knows how it came to be, you can forget it. So I think she said that you need a common definition. You actually need a commonality of purpose and of process to get to the common definition. Then everybody owns it. Everybody who's here, who's outside, who's sitting in different government, non-government countries, wherever they are sitting, they must subscribe to the same definition. Then you'll get ownership. And once you have ownership, you'll get ownership of the product, which is sustainability. And hopefully that will happen in not so distant future, because honestly speaking, the time is running out on it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, panelists. We have this much time only, though I had many other questions, but thank you all.
Evening, everyone. We have a hard stop. The venue's being already getting ready for the next event. So thank you all. Thank you all very much for being here. Thanks to all the participants, all the sponsors, all the chairpersons, and all the participants of the deliberations. Thank you very much. Good evening.
A big thank you to all the panelists, and sorry for the paucity of time.